Hello, everyone. Welcome to this amazing opportunity to learn more about being part of a multi-author book. Now that sounds, if you've not ever heard of that or know what that is, it's authors in 30 different chapters sharing the story underneath one theme. So the theme of this book is She Leads from Within. And it is about which is sort of silly because I don't know any woman who doesn't walk around intuitively. However, intuitive leadership and entrepreneurship is, I think we need to highlight and have that conversation more. And because a lot of the stories that we know of women out there is experiencing sort of a challenge, a rough patch, a trauma, and then on the other side, but then we don't share the difference of what that is, also what it looks like as an entrepreneur or in the place of leadership where you're, in the C-suite or in management, things like that, because those are a little bit more demanding towards women, especially if in a male-dominated industry, right? And I think the more we can share those types of stories, the better that we are well-rounded, as it's not just us. We're not in it alone. I mean, that's kind of our theme as women, is we feel like all of our stories are we're going through it alone. And because I'm not going at it alone, my very good friend, ex-client, and writing coach in my own journey of sharing my story of entrepreneurship for the last 25 plus years. Kristen Bentley is a CEO and founder of Elise Lee Publishing, which is a boutique publishing house that really, really caters to women and men's powerful, impactful story that doesn't just move the world. We're talking about shaking the world, right? Because the art of storytelling, let's be honest, it has been missing for a minute. What we do when we storytell is we sell something. We're convincing someone of something. We're selling them that it was hard. We're selling them that, it was this. But storytelling has a different essence to it. And I think Kristen is the perfect partner to do this with, because she is a storyteller. She is a storytelling crafting. I don't know. You know how that is, but she crafts storytelling in a way that is meaningful and purposeful. And I think that in itself is beautiful. So here we are. I want to introduce to you, long-winded but appropriate introduction to my friend, Kristen Bentley. Take it away, sis.
Hello, so nice to meet you. And so glad you could be here to join, to learn a little bit about what Wonderful and I have created, and to kind of carry, to continue what she was sharing about the craft of storytelling. It really is truly about that connection, right? We share our stories so that others can feel empowered in their own story, so that people who are experiencing what it is that we're writing about and sharing, they know, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be okay. They feel inspired, whatever that is. And it can be in so many different capacities. It could be this big story of overcome, or it can be something smaller, like a smaller overcome, a smaller everyday thing that is just as meaningful, because maybe it shows up every day in your life, right? It's something you're consciously having to make a change or an adjustment. And for those of you that are entrepreneurs, that the journey of entrepreneurship, it really is all about this space that we sit in, where we're constantly growing and evolving and elevating ourselves. We're getting into this every day we wake up. I feel like everybody is this. Everybody wakes up and they're all different person, but it's a faster paced type of process when you are a business owner, when you are an entrepreneur. And so how do we navigate that? How do we navigate the decisions of life, in business, in relationships, for those of us that are parents, for those of us that are furry animal parents, like whatever that looks like for you to navigate in your life? How are you showing up for you? How are you tuning in to the inner you that is really kind of bursting out of you and wanting to come forward? How are you honoring that version of you? And how does it guide you and lead you in your life? That's what this book is about. This is the heartbeat. For
Mhm.
those of us that are entrepreneurs and run businesses, it's not just, especially for us women, right? It's not about the bottom dollar. It's not just about the bottom dollar. Because the truth is there's so many different things that we could do with ourselves in our lives to make money. But the thing that really drives us to have purpose is figuring out what it is that sets our soul on fire. Meaningful, something meaningful. And that is how women are different in business than men. We come forward with our heart and our soul and every ounce of our being. We're putting it into the things that we do and we create. And we let it kind of guide from the inside. So, with that, that's the message. That's the theme of this book. It's all about based on how you lead through your listening to self, through your truth, to your leaning in and sitting still and being quiet for a moment. And the really great thing, I feel like one of the best parts of this is that we were just talking about this sense of community. That's exactly what this is. So the really neat thing that happens when you choose to get in on this type of opportunity is that everybody that comes in is a like-minded woman, right? She's in this same space looking for the same things. So you're going to be collaborating with other like-minded women that are going to turn into these incredible relationships moving forward, these friendships and partnerships, collaborations, and whatever that looks like. And even though we all have, this is what the theme is of this book, every single chapter is uniquely different. We just published a multi-author book. I think it's been a month now. It's been a month that it's been out. And every single chapter was so completely different from the other. The really neat thing about that is that somebody can read, right? They read this book and it's all about leading from your intuition and from your heart and your soul. And every single story is completely different. And cumulatively, having accumulation of stories, there's something so magical and special and inspiring about this particular type of book that's very different and unique in its experience for the reader versus reading just, a book that's the whole book written by one person. It's really kind of this, it's a fast read, it's inspiring, it's exciting. And the last book that we published, it did hit #1 international bestselling, and it won an award. So you are getting an opportunity to become a best-selling author. We can guarantee you that. We know how to make that happen for you. Were you going to add something wonderful?
Well, I was going to say, so does that mean when we go and, how in your profiles and things like that, or when people are asking you for your bio, can we add on to it, life coach / best-selling author, or, healer / best-selling author?
Mhm.
Okay. Because I think that's the piece that, although this is not a business book, we still have to be able to, it's part of your marketing strategy in terms of expanding your brand, right? Because how else are you going to reach? Think about 30 women, 30 different stories. Each woman knows at least, based on our Facebook profiles, some of us have 900 friends, some of us have 2,000 friends. So you're now getting into the parameter of their audience where you never would have had that kind of impact before. So I think that's a big piece too, in terms of how you move your business and your brand forward on top
Absolutely.
of sharing from your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on how you choose to write it, the title of the book is She Leads from Within, How Intuitive Thought Leadership is Changing the Way Women Do Business. So what that means to you, it's going to be completely different from what it's going to mean to some of the others in the book, right? So there are going to be some women who choose to make it a very, very professional chapter. And they're talking about the things they do professionally and how their intuition really guides them in that thing that they do and create and put out into the world. However you choose to do that, if you choose to make this opportunity about sharing something personal, on a more personal level that's maybe a little different than what you're currently putting out, the neat thing is that that gives your readers and followers an opportunity to get to know you on a new layer, like a new level, right? So that's the really neat thing about these multi-author books. You could join this opportunity. You're going to love it so much that you're going to want to do more multi-author books. There's some that do a multi-author book and then they say, okay, now I'm ready for my book. I'm ready to write a full-on book. But then there's other people that choose to just stay in and do these multi-author books, because the really neat thing about it, it's a 3,000 word chapter. First off, I don't know about you all, but I wrote papers. I mean, I was an English major. Okay, I will give you all that. However, for those of you, that have written like thesis papers and these extravagant, I had to take an advanced writing course. It was a requirement for my university. And it was a 26-page paper and it had nothing to do with English. It was a multicultural class. So 3,000 words is really not that much, right? But if you were to say, okay, when people go to my website, this is what they learn about me. So how can I use this as an opportunity to give my ideal client a new layer of knowing who I am? So maybe you're going to share about this. Maybe you were in a car accident at one time of life. You were involved in something that significantly created some type of challenge for you in your life that you had to overcome. And now I am where I am right now in spite of this thing that I overcame in life. And I learned through this experience that I really need to listen to my body. I really need to listen to me. That's kind of an example, right? It goes above and beyond when people go to your website and they see that about page and it's got all your sparkly, pretty things about all the things that you've accomplished and done. This gives them an opportunity to get to know who you are as a human being, what you're about, what you stand for. It builds trust, it builds credibility, it builds all of these things. And I want to share with you really quick that for those of you that are entrepreneurs, and I'm assuming both of you are, I'm not sure if you are or not, but I want to give you the actual numbers because there's these really beautiful statistics on how it benefits you in writing a book as an entrepreneur. Sorry, bear with me.
And while she's looking for that,
Okay.
I just want to share the book that just came out. This is the multi-author book that just came out. And this book has a couple of my clients in it. And it's and so this is what it would look like. So it's a hard copy, and because they won the award, their seal is on there. And you also hit a couple of bestseller segments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like first week,
international. Yeah, five different categories that hit number one.
Right.
And it's still holding because a lot of times it'll hit number one and then it kind of balances out and we're still in the top, best selling ranking in 3 categories. So for those of you that are entrepreneurs, the benefits of becoming, and I want to make sure I'm all about like giving people numbers and statistics and being accurate. So 34% of entrepreneurs after becoming an author, they went on to double their rates, regardless of whether it was a startup or not. Doesn't even matter how many years they're in business, they doubled their rates. 81% went on to be featured in the media. 72% went on to get paid speaking engagements. And if you're already that person who's out there getting those speaking engagements, as we know, there's kind of levels to that speaking platform. So you're just going to kind of level up wherever you are at this point. 74% went on to find new referral partners, and 26% went on to partner with influential brands in their industry. So the benefit that comes out of this investment, because that's really what it is, you're investing into your business by joining this book, is that it turns around and it brings you new clients. People are going to find you because after your chapter, there's a page that has your bio. So it has your photo, your headshot, it has your bio, it has links for people to find you, because it does go out as an ebook, it goes out in print, it goes out in both. And so people are going to have a way to follow you, and whatever links you want to provide us. You want to give us your website, your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram page, your whatever those pages are. You have multiple different links you can provide so people can come and find you afterwards. So that's kind of one of the really amazing benefits in being an entrepreneur. And it really does kind of matter as far as being able to put, yes, I'm a coach, I'm a business coach, I'm a life coach, but I'm also a published author. I'm an international best-selling author. It gives a new level of credibility. There are podcasts, there are stages that specifically look for authors to host on their platforms. They want people that have put books out. And to give you just a few more statistics, so over 80% of the population has said that they want to write a book. And that, I'm guessing that's probably most of us right here in this room right now. And those of you watching the replay, it's on your bucket list somewhere. Like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that happen. And then life happens, right? There's a lot involved in writing a whole 60,000 word book, right? 50,000 word book. There's a lot there. So this gives you an opportunity to experience that by just doing a chapter, right? You can kind of test the waters and see how well this works. You join in this book, you write a chapter and you think, you know, I can so do this, because all I have to do is what I did just now 9 more times and I have a whole book. I can do that, right?
And literally you could take each chapter and combine. I mean, I just think that that's brilliant because it gets your feet wet. I love that idea. But
Absolutely.
I also share with you guys what she was talking about at the end of the book. I think what's brilliant about it is it comes with a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Chicken Soup for the Soul, sometimes you get so gravitated to the story and you're thinking, God, I wish I knew what that person looked like or how to reach that person. You'd have to go through their publishing to find the information and all that. I love that it's just so handy within the book. So even on that note, so my 2 clients that were in here, one of them purchased like a whole like bunch of them. And now it's in the hands of all her family and friends. And they're looking at all the other people's pictures in here going, oh my gosh, is that Amy Dean? Who's Amy Dean? I don't know. So I feel like in that way too, that's the courage it takes, but you're an entrepreneur, so you're already courageous anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
So might as well just add on to that courage by sharing your story. Just
yes. And one of the other things that I love that adds like a whole nother level is that the women that we had that came forward to be a part of that book, it was such a diverse group of ladies. There were several that were here, first time American, that had moved here from other countries. And so when people read the book and they see, wow, that person, I identify with that person because we have the same background, right? We come from the same culture. It really does kind of add this space of letting people feel identified with your story and the people that are representing what they're sharing. So I really love that we can do that. We can kind of share that there's all these women coming forward to be a part of this project. And that's what we're finding is happening with Wonderfuls as well.
I mean, Jen, you came on because you had some questions, and I'm sure, Michonne, you have some questions. Did I say that right, by the way, Michonne? Or no? That Michelle? Oh, no.
It's okay. It's simple. It's just Miss Shawn.
Oh, Michonne. Okay.
Yeah. No worries, no worries. I've spent my whole life repeating it.
I bet it's like when people ask me my name, they pause for me to come up with a real name. And I'm like, it's my birth
Wonderful,
name.
Marcy.
Sorry, that's my
But
real
no,
name.
really, that's
Sorry.
yes, yes.
You both
yes,
have beautiful
yes.
names.
Thank you. So, I
Thank
mean,
you.
I think this is a great opportunity, if you're ready, Kristen, for them to ask any type of questions that you may have about this particular opportunity.
Yes. And let me share just a couple more things first, and then we'll go into that. So I want to let you know, if you're sitting over there and you're thinking, okay, Kristen, everything you've said so far sounds really good, but I'm not really a writer. I've never done anything like this before. I want to let you know that this full process is completely supported. So we have an actual planner that shows you how, like, every day you sit down and you work on your chapter. It kind of takes you through the process. There's writing coaching, there's editor sessions, there is full support. And then of course, my team, we edit as well. So everything is professionally edited. So you will be absolutely supported throughout the entire process. So once you say, yes, I'm in, until the time the book comes out, we literally hold you in this space where you will feel very supported. Okay, now we can open for questions.
I will
Okay.
add one more thing really quickly, because I'm in her writing course. It is very, even if you think you can only write like 4th grade sentences, which that's what I think, right? Because the process is so easy. I print everything because so I print the workbook and I go through the exact process. And then when I see it all together, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great chapter. Good job.
Yep.
Nice.
I
that's
thought about being a writer.
And that writing program is included with the price of signing into the multi-author book then, or what?
No, that's the program she just talked about, what she's talking about, the journal.
Oh,
This is-
okay.
The planner. Yep.
Or the planner, that's it.
Oh, to set yourself up for writing your chapter, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I need that anyways, because I missed a lot of high school English class and I now regret it.
Oh.
We've got you covered. So there's a couple different things that you can do too. So with the editor sessions, you can reach out to me and say, okay, Kristen, I kind of have an idea what I want to say, but I'm not really sure exactly. I really need to kind of flesh it out a little bit. So I would, you schedule the session, we get on, and you'll say to me, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And it's amazing, these sessions. They're kind of magical, because I get on there with authors who already have it all drafted out and they know what they're doing. And then we have conversations and they say, oh my gosh. Then they start making connections and they kind of tighten everything they're saying. And then I get on sessions with people they say, this is the story I want to tell, but I don't really know how I'm going to tell it. I don't know what I'm going to say. And then we talk through it. And by the time we get off the call, you have a full outline of your chapter. And then you just sit down and you get going. Or if you're feeling kind of stuck, you're like, well, I know what I'm going to say, but every time I sit down to write, I feel stuck. How do I move forward from that? So then we talk about that and I give you ways to move forward feeling stuck. Or you could sit down, this has happened too, and your whole chapter will flow out of you. And you'll say, okay, but can I send you over my chapter for feedback before I actually submit it? Because I'm not really sure if I nailed it just yet. And then you can send it over to me. I'll look at it and then I'll provide you some feedback. We can jump on a call, talk further, and then you go back and make some revisions on it, right? So there's a lot of different ways that I can show up to give you that support that you're talking about and asking about, Jen.
Okay. And then I did have like direct question of I feel like I have a few different stories to share. And so depending on which direction I'm wanting to guide the reader to and which area I'm wanting to discuss, I have to admit, like, as soon as I heard about this opportunity, I was thrilled and I was so excited about all of it. And then I heard that my name and picture was going in it, and I hit instant anxiety because I've got like ex-boyfriends that didn't go away quietly. And
Mhm.
so the idea of putting my name out there on something to where I'm talking about overcoming domestic violence or narcissism, or
Right.
it was really, I don't want to give them any reason to come back into my world in any way,
Mhm.
or like start the gaslighting and flying, all that stuff. And so, but
Absolutely.
yet, but yet I have heard of and witnessed so many people being stuck under the hands of a narcissist and trying to get out, or stuck in a domestic violence situation and just feeling like they're so trapped and so alone. It's
Mhm.
like I can't not say something, but I also at the same time, the idea of putting myself out there completely vulnerable
Mhm.
kind of freaked me out because it is still pretty fresh and raw and it was pretty extreme. So it's like, what do you say to somebody in my position where I want to support other women who feel like there's no way out and there's no
Mhm.
hope,
Mhm.
and yet still want to just kind of shield myself in a way?
Yeah, that's actually, so we get similar questions a lot because, and sometimes you're saying, I don't know what my exes are going to think. Sometimes we get people that say, I don't know what my family, I don't know what my mom's going to say, right?
Mhm.
There's a worry about that. So a couple different things. So first of all, whoever, however you share your story, you can write about it and not talk about names. You can
Right.
share just your experience. If you decide to use names, they always get changed. We never use anybody's actual name.
Mhm.
And if it's a situation, because we had in Uncovering the Brave Within, we did have, um, there were some stories in there that were very similar to what you're talking about. And one of them was also with domestic violence. And she really shared, and it was such a powerful chapter in the things that she was disclosing. And she had the same experience. She wasn't quite sure, um because it feels vulnerable when
Mhm.
you're writing it. And so this is what I'm going to say to you: how much you choose to say, you have complete control. You have complete control as to how your story comes out. How
Mhm.
many of the details you choose to disclose and get vulnerable with are completely that's your lane to decide. So there's something about knowing that you have ultimate control that does tend to relieve some of the anxiety. There
Right.
was another lady who in the book ended up using a pen name. Now, even though her photo was in the book, because of what she does professionally, she's a therapist in the prison system.
Mhm.
And she said, I don't want my actual name on the front cover, but none of the people that she works with are friends of hers on social media. So that she doesn't care. She didn't care about sharing, but she used a pen name on the cover, but then her photo actually did go in beside it.
Mhm.
So there's a couple different ways that you can be protected in a sense where you feel comfortable, but then also legally. That part, as far as if you're worried about somebody wanting to come, you know, some type of legal issue, then it really is just a matter of changing names. And we always recommend to our authors that you never use anybody's actual name unless you get permission from that person. So
Mhm.
let's say that somebody was to talk about like their current partner, and their current partner says, oh, I don't care if you, right?
Mhm.
But maybe you're going to talk about a child who's an adult now and grown. They might not want their, right? So you always want to ask just for legal purposes. And then in the very front of the book, in the copyright section, there's always kind of this disclaimer in there. And so it says the stories here are based on true events. They are, you know what I mean? I'm
Right.
paraphrasing. This is the experience of the author. Names have been changed, all that kind of thing.
Right.
Here's the thing. Our experiences and the things that we go through in life are our experiences. And regardless of what anybody else thinks about them, whether they were in our life at the time that we went through them or not, they don't get to tell us that those experiences aren't how we experience them. So
Right.
the really beautiful thing that happens that comes from telling stories as the one that you were just talking about is you had said at the end, but I feel like I need to break free from this sense of feeling uncontrolled,
Mhm.
or there's a lot of power that comes out of it. And I'm gonna be vulnerable because all you have to do is go buy the darn book and you can read my chapter. I didn't get very detailed. However, I don't know that my ex will ever read that book. And to be truthful, I don't really care if he does.
Mhm.
However, right? So we really have to come to terms with, how do I feel about this story that I'm sharing? And as long as you are confident in telling it, and as long as you really are for the purpose of letting others feel not alone, for letting others know that they're going to be okay and get through whatever situation they're in at this time, because it's not an uncommon situation, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
What you're talking about.
Yeah.
And there's
I
a lot
think
of,
too, I think too, Jen, I would love to encourage you to know that you're supported, because your first draft is your first draft. Kristen is really amazing at walking you through how that particular story will shape.
yeah,
Because even though it's raw to you, because you've got another set of eyes that's actually a professional in that field, she's able to help guide you in a place where it has strength versus, victim or anything
Yeah.
like that. So
I don't have
yeah,
I don't have any problem sharing details. I just want to for the part of me that has been what's the word for the part of me that has experienced so much manipulation of facts and everything, I want to just kind of give that part of me a little bit of cushion by doing something like a pen name or something like that, so
mhm,
that I can share freely without that little voice in the back of my head saying, well, maybe you shouldn't quite say it that way, because I have no problem sharing it and I want to keep it that way.
sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. To give you a couple other examples, it also, so for all of you, if you're looking for, and hi, I'm guessing Bridget, right? Just Bridget. Good to have you on.
Yeah, Bridget, yes, hi.
Okay, because I knew a Birgit, and I'm thinking, no, that's not spelled Birgit. So I kind of stumbled a second thought. Um, Here's one of the things I'm going to ask. So if you decide before you even get started that it would best benefit you to just get on a one-on-one with me before you begin writing, to say, Kristen, this is what I want to accomplish with my chapter. I'm going to ask you, what is your goal? Why are you saying yes to writing a chapter in this book? What is it that's calling to you? What is it that you're feeling right here that you need to be sharing? What are your goals?
Okay.
So every single one of you ladies are going to have a completely different goal. Some of you are going to say, yeah, what you were saying, giving me all those numbers and statistics about how I can grow my business, that's where I'm at. I'm doing this because I see this as a platform to leverage my visibility. Then there's going to be other of you like Jen who are going to say, I feel like I need to tell my story so other women feel seen, heard, understood, and know that they're going to be okay, right? And they're not alone.
Yeah.
There's going to be just a whole mixture of what's going to be coming out, because we don't tell you, oh, no, this is what your chapter has to be about. We don't do that. You all have the creative freedom to share whatever it is that you're feeling you really need to be sharing in this book. So I had an author, or I have an author that I'm working with right now. We're in the process of editing her book, and I can share a little bit, very vaguely. So she's a police officer in another country who survived not domestic violence. She survived sexual assault and harassment by her superiors.
Mhm.
And she went to court and she won. And it became a landmark case that is now changing culture for police women in her country. And she said to me, Kristen, this is what I want to create with my book. She wants to start essentially this movement for change within that policing culture in her country. And I said, okay, so because that's your goal, this is how your voice needs to come out. So the areas where you are talking about mental health, let's keep it here, because we need you to be coming across very powerful and strong, right? It's okay to talk about mental health. That's important.
Mhm.
Very, very important. However, we're not going to dive quite as much into it as you did in your rough draft manuscript. So we're going to peel that back. And if you choose after the book comes out to get on podcasts, to get on platforms to talk about mental health and dive deeper into these topics, that's your platform to do it. But for this book, because it really essentially is you writing to current serving police officers for them to rally around this movement you're wanting to create, this isn't really right. You got to kind of figure out what's the hill you're going to die on. Is it mental health? Is it a movement? Which one is it?
Mhm.
So
That
for
makes sense.
so for each of you, if you choose, I really feel like I need to talk to you, Kristen. These are my goals. What does that voice need to sound like to come through? How much of this story should I dive into and share in the details? And as Wonderful just said, I recommend to all of you, before you start writing your chapter, just sit in this space. Just kind of sit in a space and just let yourself like kind of journal, like just rewrite. If you don't know, because I think it was you, right, Jen, that said you have a couple different stories. I feel like
Yeah.
all of you
Yeah,
are just kind of
I
like,
have several. It's like one thing that's held me back from starting diving into this is because I know it's like, okay, well, which one do I want to tell? But they're all based around being a survivor of and overcoming. So it's
Mhm.
pretty interesting.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense, because I feel like every single person here, every single woman here, you all could literally write 5 full books right now. I know you're sitting over there saying, no way, Kristen, I don't believe you. No way. And heck, I could write, you really could. And they could all be something different, right? Like I got married at 20, divorced. We were married for almost, I was in my 30s, midlife crisis, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I kind of had to refigure out who the heck I was, because I looked in the mirror. I don't know who that woman is. Who did she turn into? I need to figure that out. I got remarried, had more children in my 40s. I have a 7-year-old autistic son. All of you are just like, Kristen, yeah, that's life. Me too, right? I too went through this and I had some type of pivot. Maybe yours was different. There's so many different things that you can write about. So if you're feeling like, I'm not really sure which story I should be sharing in this book, what I'm going to say to you is, if you had just one story that for some reason you only get one opportunity to tell one story, what is that story going to be? That's going to be the first one you share. So the one that you really feel, you feel it right here. You can feel it like in your bones, like this.
Yeah, I like felt a shift of my physical energy. Just I was like, oh yeah, I know which one.
Yes.
And I could like feel it in my chest as this like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yes, that's it. When you think of, okay, who am I? Who am I? What do I stand for? What is my purpose in life? What do I want to be remembered for? That's my thing. I have 6, my husband and I have a Brady Bunch family of 6 children. However, he didn't have 3 and I had 3. 5 of them are mine. I had 5 babies. And I have 1 girl. And when I had my daughter, it was like, I'm 41 years old and I have my daughter. And I think to myself, what is my legacy? What am I leaving her? So that's really what it is right here. What is it that you want to be remembered for? And granted, this is not going to be the only opportunity. I promise you, you may not believe me right now. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, Kristen, I feel like this is going to be a one and done. Like, okay, check that bucket list. I'm an author now. Whew, I did it. That's not what happens. Of all the things that you can do in your life, becoming an author is one of the most life-changing experiences you're ever going to have. It is significant. Yes, you had a question.
Yeah, I wanted to know how this book is set apart from the previous one, the Brave title. How is this one set apart differently? The focus of this, I'm a little unclear. I just was also looking at the link provided in the chat
Mhm.
and noticed that there's additional titles that are kind of forecasted. Wondering how this one is set apart a little differently.
Sure. So the one that we published, it was all about uncovering the brave within. So that one was a little bit different. It was really focused on living an authentic life. So living your authentic life and what that journey was like for you. So a little different. This one is all about leaning into that intuition. So it's more focused on how am I quieting all the noise in the room and listening to this right here. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think the difference is, for me anyhow, why I wanted to create this with Kristen is because having been an entrepreneur my entire adult life, there's just not enough books out there that speak to me as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Right. So for me, the majority of women I'm encouraging to jump on are business owners, women who either have a plan to start a business, have been in business and no longer in business, but more centered around the idea of what it was like to start something from wherever it was, whether it was a franchise or, because I think so much of business books out there is business books, right? It's just business books. There's not enough language of what it is to be a woman who's thinking about creating a business, who's in a business, who's lost a business and then came back. And, because that's my story. My story is all about failure and learning as a business owner. And there's no one else I can talk to about that because I don't know any other female entrepreneurs at that level. And I think this book is a combination of women who have been business owners where Uncovering the Brave, like I said, I've had a couple clients in here, they're sharing a whole different story. Like it's a little separate from being an entrepreneur. So that's
Absolutely.
for me, that's why I wanted to create this multi-author with Kristen, is
Yeah.
to highlight women in business.
And to be completely honest, if we were to say, because that sometimes people are just like, wow, that title is just amazing. So if we were to say, okay, we're going to do book 2, Uncovering the Brave Within, and do it again and put it out there for people to come in, it's going to be a completely different book. So we could literally take this same message and just regurgitate it every time. And what comes forward, who comes forward, is what makes the book what it is.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a completely different book every single time it comes out. But yeah, it is a little bit different. I can see how it sounds, a little bit similar. However, it was really focused on digging up that inner courage, right? It was really focused on who was I when I was young? What caused me to change at some point in my life? And how do I get back to that really brave little girl I used to be? Because that's the journey of life of a woman. We know who we are when we're little, and then we're kind of like, well, I don't know, who do you want me to be? What is society telling me to be? How is society telling me to show up? And then how do we get back to that brave little girl that we are? But living with this intuition, it's interesting because when we think about intuition, it really is something that we used to lean into so much more. I mean, wonderful. You do all your Warrior Woman Wednesday, and it's like, that's how we used to be. That was the survival skill of how we would just survive back in the day, was listening to ourselves and showing up in this space that was really deeply aligned with who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at female leaders, around the world. So women who are, leaders of their countries, look at how differently they're leading the people that they serve. It's always in this space. Well, right. In my husband, for instance, he's Native American and he's Cherokee. His great grandmother was a matron. She was the matron of their clan. And before the Trail of Tears, she got quiet. She did her whole like meditation and, the rituals to get whatever that voice was. Should we go on the Trail of Tears? Should we not? And she came back and her intuition said to her, we're not going to go. And they didn't go. And they were one of the few tribes that survived that whole horrific thing. And so it's really about that. Like, I think of Joan of Arc. I think of my husband's great grandmother when I think of women who lead through just that inner voice. And for some of you, you could say, well, that is my faith. I feel like that's God speaking to me. That's the spirit, right? That could be what that means to you. But truly, your intuition is, am I going to listen to that voice that's speaking to me when I get quiet? And is it going to show up in the way that I am in my relationships in life, how I lead my business, right? Am I going to partner with this person? Does it feel aligned with who I am and what I stand for? That was a really good question. Are there any other questions?
That was a really good question.
I feel like there's got to be a bunch.
She's like,
She's like, I do. I have a ton.
What is it that you hope the audience is taking away by reading this collection?
Oh, yeah,
oh,
that's
I am
really,
taking all your questions.
that is another really good question. So it's interesting because I kind of feel like, do you all have and you can just do like raise a hand for those of you that have camera. Do you all have a book that you've read multiple times and every time you read it, something different speaks to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You get something different every time you read it, depending on where you are in your life in that moment. So yes, exactly. I envision that this book is going to really inspire women wherever they are in that space. I feel like some of us are so lost in the chatter of the world that we don't even remember what this voice right here even sounds like anymore, because we haven't been listening to her for decades, right? For those of us that are like, I'm creeping towards 50, you all. And it's kind of like, for some of us, we could be thinking, I don't even know what that sounds like anymore, right? I don't even remember her voice. And then there's going to be others that say, oh man, I went into this deep space because of this really complicated, difficult, challenging thing that I went through in life that forced me to stop listening to the chatter around me and start listening to this right here. Because I had no choice but to start paying attention to me and who I am and how I'm showing up. Because the way that we are able to listen to that inner voice, the way that we show up, it affects every single person around us, right? As we're sitting in this room right now and we're having these conversations, every single one of us, we can feel each other's energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just our loved ones. My partner, he was telling me earlier today, like, well, I don't know, you're kind of bossy sometimes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not bossy. I'm detail oriented. I like to have a plan, It really does kind of affect though, because I used to not be that person that listened to this right here, but now I do, right? And I go to my husband and say, look, this is what I'm needing right now.
Right.
What I'm needing from you. And then I have conversations with my children and I tell them, hey, what you're doing right now, this is how this is affecting me. I feel like I need to let you know that. And we have conversations because we're showing up as ourselves in alignment with who we are. And we're not pretending to be something else.
Right.
We're not, oh my gosh, have you all seen Chicago, the musical? You know that song, Mr. Cellophane? He's like, you can't even see me, I'm just invisible. Nobody can see me. That person that blows with the wind.
Yeah. And I think for me, that was why I really wanted to create this. I didn't, honestly, ladies, other than Chicken Soup for the Soul, I didn't even know what a multi-author book was. And when Kristen brought it up to me, I thought this is so brilliant, because it really did come from that place of, I used to do this thing every single Wednesday where I shared a historical woman in all of human documented history. And it was not easy to find. Like, I had to scour and scour and scour to just write 3 paragraphs about this person that nobody's ever heard of. And I thought, why is that? Why don't we have the same time that Julius Caesar was alive, another woman who was killing it over here, was running the world, was, commanding an entire army, having babies. And I'm thinking, okay, why don't we know about her? And why is there's only one sentence? And then I have to go find. So for me, my motivation to do this with Kristen was for my grandchildren, I have 2 granddaughters, and when they go to look for an inspirational space at their moment in life that they're struggling through something, they can pick up this book and go, oh my gosh, that's me. Okay, I'm going to do it. So for me, I see it more from that space of to leave something for our descendants in the form of a female eyes and female experience and female challenges and victories that you don't pick up very often, right? There's always a lot of mishmash, men and women. And again, I'm not saying I'm against men, but I think that there isn't enough information for women who are just as powerful as some of the men that we know today. So that's my motivation. And together, because we just meshed so well, it was like, no brainer, let's do this. And let's invite 30 other women to come along with us. Because, I think that's powerful. So thank you for that question. I hope that answered that for you.
Yeah, mine was a long-winded answer. But it really is like, we're setting people off on, whatever that journey is. And I think some of us don't even realize we're not really listening to that inner voice anymore, because we get so lost. We get so lost in
right.
kind of what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be showing up. Are there any other questions?
Yeah.
So I started off a little late. So this book is going to be about us telling a story about a particular time in our life that would be inspirational, that we overcame.
Yeah. So, and in that space, how you were able to listen to your inner spirit, we'll call it that, your inner self, to really figure out your way through that situation. How did I get through this situation and stay true to me and to myself and to what I needed? And it could be something like changing careers, changing professions, leaving a job to launch into entrepreneurship. It could be leaving a relationship, starting a relationship, right? There's a lot of different ways of what that would look like for you. But it's really about, how did I let my inner intuition guide me through that situation? And however you would interpret that and what that looked like for you.
Okay. And how many words?
Yeah, so it's about 3,000 words. So if it's a little bit under, that's okay. I had one lady in our last one, she reached out and she says, oh my gosh, mine's only 2,800 words. I said, that's okay. So around 2,800, 3,000, somewhere around there. We don't want it to be too much over, but if you're a little bit under, that's okay.
Okay. And then how long is this going to take, the process, and when is the book going to be published? We have to have everything in. And
yes, such good questions. Yes, those are all. So we are going to be closing out the book the end of June. So we've got it open right now. We're enrolling, registering people to come in and be a part. We're going to be closing it out at the end of June, and we are going to be releasing this fall. So once we get all the chapters in, I know. So you have plenty of time. I just want to share with you all, if that's another thing too, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so busy right now. I feel like March, we've all just been, are you all just running busy, super busy? It's been a month, let me tell you, it's been fierce. It's been good, but it's been fierce. So you have plenty of time. Now, since you know we're going to be enrolling till the end of June, if you were to get off here today and be like, I'm doing this and I'm registering before I think too much about it and overthink, you would have, you know, what is that, April, May, June, you'd have 3 months to write your chapter. That's a lot of time. And then you came in a little late. So I want to share with you, if you felt like, because you had questions, if you wanted more of a one-on-one where I can get more details from you and we can talk it out as to what your chapter would look like, I would be happy. So I'm here to support you, whether you need help drafting out the outline for your chapter, whether you feel like I have it, but I just want you to look at it and give me some feedback, whatever that support is, looks like for you, what's going to benefit you and help you the most, I am here for it. If you need to meet with me a couple times, I am here for it. I'm here to support you. So once your chapters are finished and you submit them, our team will do an edit. We'll send them back to you. So a couple things. You all maintain the copyrights to your chapter. I want to share that with you. So even though it's going in our book, you get to take it. And if you decide, you know what, I'm now going to write a full book and I'm going to keep this right like it is, word for word, you own it. It's yours. We don't know the copyrights to any of our authors' books. So it's your story. You maintain it. When I say we edit, I like to call it, we do a polish. We polish the story. We don't change it. We don't turn it into something that you didn't write. We believe in maintaining the integrity of our authors' voices for so many reasons. First off, you're in this for a reason, right? Your voice serves a purpose. For us to change that voice and turn it into something else is doing a disservice. It's right. The world needs your story. So we maintain the integrity of your story. Secondly, just as important, when people read your chapter and they say, oh my gosh, I have to find her. I need to go follow her. What are these services that she offers? Because I need to sign up. If they go from reading your chapter in this book to going on your website, to going on your social media feed, and they don't fit, what's the point, right? Why are you even here writing a chapter in the first place? So we maintain the integrity. We just do a little polish. So we do a copy edit where we will just kind of polish up the grammar, the sentence structure. We don't do anything significant. So we'll do an edit. We send it back to you for you to look over. We might say, this is one of the things I do too. So let's say you submit your chapter over. I had one lady who wrote it from this very professional voice. And it was really well written, but it was a little too professional sounding. She wasn't giving us enough of her story. So I sent it back to her and I said, okay, right here, I want you to dig. Tell me more. So you might get your chapter back where it'll be something like that, and you'll have to make some slight revisions. But essentially, you'll just approve, yes, I approve the edits. And then we kind of move forward with the copy editing or the proofreading and all of that. We've got the cover pretty well good to go. We are going to have it slightly, I'm going to be sending it over to my artist, my graphic designer, and she's going to recreate it. So it's going to be even prettier than how we have it right now. And it's going to be releasing this fall. So we're guaranteeing that it's going to be a best-selling book. I say that because we know how to do it. We know what that needs to look like. We're all going to be a part of launching the book. And once we get closer to that space, I'm going to give you all the steps to do that.
Okay.
And I just want to add on to what Kristen said, that as a business owner, intellectual property is a real thing. It doesn't see, especially when you're in the service industry, you just create things. You're like, oh yeah, it's out in the world, right? Now you can't trademark certain things like the word that is stop, right? That's just madness. However, your story, that's kind of a big deal to know that you have the rights to your story that's in a compiled version with other people, because it's literally a marketing use. You can absolutely take it out of this book and put it somewhere else because it's your intellectual property. And not all multi-author books are ran that way. Just an FYI in terms of understanding what's yours, what is, because it's your story, so it is your intellectual property. But that's not always the case with a lot of multi-author books. So I just wanted to point that out because that's not something you ask when you're joining in a multi-author book. And I think it's an important thing to share from a business perspective.
Now, is this the book is going to be featured where or sold where?
Another great question. So we actually distribute throughout. So it goes international. It goes to over 40,000 online and brick and mortar retailers around the world. So it's like 9 different countries that it goes to. So it'll be available here, like in the US. For those of you in the US, we might have some that are in Canada or somewhere else. But it does go to obviously Amazon. You all, Amazon dominates. They just do. 80% of books are purchased through Amazon. It's just what it is. So it will go on Amazon, but it also goes to Barnes and Noble. It goes to Books A Million, Target, Walmart, all of those retailers. So over 40,000 around the world.
Okay. Nice, thank you.
And that's a great question because there are publishers that only publish to Amazon.
Right.
That's not us. No, we want to get you out there everywhere.
Okay.
I think we have another question.
Yes.
Yeah, so how many published works are in your repertoire?
In my repertoire.
Yeah.
So we launched in 2020. We are a new publishing house. We have 14 titles that are going to be releasing this year. And so far, everything that we've put out has been an international best-selling book. We've had authors that have gotten onto TV. We've got a book that's coming out next month with an award-winning poet out of Canada. So we've really we've been working and doing all the back end of the completing of the book. This book, we've been doing solo books. So solo author books that it takes a long, it takes a while because we author, geez, I'm misspeaking a lot. We offer a masterclass that basically guides people from book idea to full finished manuscript. And it's like a 6-month class. Then from there, we go into the editing process, which is typically for a full book, another 6 months. And then we go into format. So it's a process. People start writing their books. And by the time the book releases, from when they start to when it comes out, it can be anywhere from a year and a half. It's a really long process. So we've been working with these authors. We have had a couple come out and they've been doing really well, but we've got 14 books that are currently in production right now that are going to release in 2023. And we have 15 currently rolling over into 2024. Now, having said that, we're a traditional publishing house and we are, as Wonderful said, a boutique. So we are not going to be a publishing house that pumps out 100 books a year for purpose. We're just not. We're very, very particular about the books that we, like the full solo books that we put out. So it's going to be a much smaller group than that. But I will share with you this. We currently have an author that we're working with that is a former congressman. He was also a Vietnam vet and he flew a small private plane around the world to honor those who never returned home from war. And it's this absolutely beautiful, beautiful story. We have the other that I shared with you was the police officer who changed, for those of you that weren't on, she's changing the culture of policing in her country after winning a case. So we have a lot of we have another author that we're working with who is a lawyer who's in the process of writing a bill. For those of you that have seen The Tinder Swindler on Netflix, I feel like Jen, I feel like you're kind of over there like, oh my gosh, I've seen it. It's terrible. It's a terrible show.
I think I dated him. No, but seriously,
my
yeah, I
God.
have seen
That would be
it.
awful. That would be awful. So for those of you that aren't familiar, this man was a con artist that dated multiple women, scanned them like over millions of dollars. And there was, he got up, nothing ever came of it. So she's a lawyer out of Chicago, a very high profile lawyer who had a similar situation, was actually married to the man. Her documentary is coming out and she is now writing a bill to make it so that that does become something where you'll be prosecuted. So we have several different authors that we're working with that are very high profile, and quite a few books that are going to be releasing this year.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you. I
also
feel like
like-
for me, that adds some credibility. Thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
No,
Yeah.
I understand. There's a lot of publishers out there, and
Yeah.
it's a very confusing industry for people that aren't in the industry. So I want to share with you, there's 3 different ways for those of you that feel like this might be the beginning of something I want to keep doing, right? We're here to support all authors, whether you decide that you want to publish with us, like moving forward or not, we're here to support authors and storytellers and people telling their stories. So we're a traditional publishing house that supports others, right? Supports everybody. We have an author community. We have a master class that you can take to guide you through writing your book. We're in the process right now of releasing a manuscript planner. It's this 230-page, every day you sit down to write. It guides you through the process of organizing your book. So I've been in the writing industry for over 20 years. I've been a journalist. I've been an editor for several different publications. I was an award-winning editor for the National Infantry Association's magazine. I've launched and created 6 different publications that went international, that were read in like 72 countries. I also was an executive creative for a startup company that was providing services to companies like Hilton and US Foods. So I have a lot of experience in this space, and I'm really all about supporting authors to tell their stories regardless of the path that you choose. So traditional publishing is kind of like Penguin, right? All those big guys out there.
Yeah.
Take your story and they say, okay, we're going to take it. You have to have a huge platform to get accepted, first of all, from them. If you don't have a huge platform, they won't pick up your book. Then they take it, they edit it as they see fit to sell the book. You maintain 10% of the royalties if you're lucky. You pay back the advance, and that's the traditional publishing industry. And then there's hybrid publishers that they give you a lot more of authority in the telling of your story in your book. So the benefit to those are that you maintain the rights, but you upfront pay for production costs to publish through a hybrid publisher. And then there's self-publishing. And self-publishing is complicated as well, because you have to figure out how to do all the things. And then you want your book to look professional. So you have to find an editor to edit it for you. You have to find somebody to create the cover for you. So what we do, we're traditional in the sense that when we pick up a manuscript, so we offer the masterclass, because when you go through the masterclass, you have a more put together manuscript that's going to be more successful when you go to pitch it to publishers. So it's more together, ready to go. You have to have it professionally edited, and then you submit it to us. We pick it up after that point, and we say, okay, we're going to pick this up. We're going to create your cover. We're going to do your launch campaign. We're going to do all those things. And we take on that and create it and do it for you. But you still maintain the rights of your book. We maintain authenticity of your voice. So our mission is really to change what traditional publishing looks like.
And just to piggyback on that,
A lot of information I'm throwing.
one of the things I wanted to just, add on to your credentials and credibility is like what you were saying, oh my gosh.
Michonne,
Michonne.
Michonne, yeah.
It's because I know somebody with the same spelling. Is it the same spelling, Kristen? Michonne's? Remember, because her name.
I'm
So
not sure.
anyway.
Oh, I think it was an S.
Oh, okay. Is that the process? I know so many entrepreneurs who've written a book. Like I have a whole shelf of just women entrepreneurs I've worked with personally that have created a book. And I think you can tell the ones that have guidance and you can tell the ones that haven't. And I think guidance is part of the most important part of this process for it to be an impactful for you and for the readers, because you know, I think there's it, like Kristen was saying, there's not enough information, and who's actually going to go dig that up? Like, are we really going to go research, like, how do you write a book? And even if we did do that, it's still an additional thing we're doing on top of running a business, running a household, where with Kristen's credentials and experience throughout the many years of being in the publishing world, that I think is part of the value of it as well, is that you come from that background. Whereas there are some publishers who was like, what'd you do 10 years ago? Oh, I was, selling rubber bands and now I have a publishing house. Not saying that that's a bad thing, because it might already be an innate thing and they maybe already created a book. But for me, I really wanted to partner with somebody that already has a long history in creating this type of process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've been a writer. The first time I published, I was 18. And so I've been doing this for a super long time. But the editing space, because how many times do you read a book and there's errors in the book? And I heard somebody say one time, oh, there's no manuscript that goes out there that's error-free. And I'm thinking, oh, you don't know me and my team, right? And we really believe in the power of voice. And it's not about, for those of you that are saying, oh my gosh, but I hate English, like I hate writing, it's not my favorite. This is where this needs to come from. This is what I tell authors. You don't have to be a professional writer because we are, right? So you just have to have a story and you have to tell your story from here. That's it. You tell it from your heart and it comes out of you. It'll just flow out of you in the exact way that it's meant to be told and shared. That is the magic of writing, especially in this space when you're working on a book.
What is the cost to do the multi-author? And then what is the cost to do the single?
Yes, that's a great question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do you one step further, because you joined after we already shared the link. And this way you can look at it and you can see what all is involved, because we offer both a VIP, which means your name gets on the cover, and then we offer just being a co-author for some reason. There we go. So there's two different opportunities that you can get in on, and you can either do pay in full, you can do a payment plan that we offer as well. And if you're needing, if you have any questions in reference to that, you can always reach out and ask me. If you have, I would rather put down like a down payment, we can kind of make slight modifications to that payment plan.
So that information is all in the link.
Yes. Yep. And it'll show you everything that's included, everything that's provided with the investment. And that's another thing I wanted to share too, that regardless of the path you choose to become an author, there's always an investment. And I think that there's another, that's something that people don't understand as well. They think that, oh, I can get picked up by a traditional publisher and they're going to give me money. That's not the way it works, because you always have to pay an editor to edit your work. That's where you always start, regardless of what path you take. If you're trying to go traditional publishing, you then have to hire a literary agent. So somebody that's going to pick up your manuscript and pitch it to publishing houses. And then at that point, right, so it's an investment regardless of what way that you go in. And then also, if you go from that link, you can find out more information on the support of the solo book. But I do want to share with you that we have a couple things that are coming out to support you that are not listed on the website yet. because we're in preparations to launch them. So one of them is the manuscript. It's a manuscript planner, a 331 page planner. It's going to be launching first as just a digital version, but we're going to be creating an actual physical planner as well. And then we're also doing a self-led author course that you can invest into that. And then basically everything is preloaded in the dashboard, pre-recorded. But the one that you're going to see on the website right now is our VIP. And that is where you step into a container, like how we are right here with all of us on here. It's 6 authors in this space where I work with you one-on-one, and we meet every week. And I guide you through the entire process. You schedule editor sessions with me you could schedule editor sessions every week if you wanted to. I'm available. If you go to my planner, you go to my scheduling, if there's availability, you just schedule it, whatever you need. And then with the cost of the VIP masterclass, you get that editing and everything. So everything is included. So then your book is really, really ready to go. And then you pitch it to be published. And whether you go with us or however you do that.
Okay.
We do have the highest royalties in the industry, in the traditional publishing industry. And we have a very large platform as well that we publish onto. Like I said, over 40,000 retailers around the world.
You said royalties. Can you explain that a little, please?
Royalties, absolutely. So the royalties are basically when the book sells. So when you buy a book, there's a portion of it that goes to the retailer that's selling the book. There's a portion of it that goes to the distributor, whoever that is. And then there's a portion that goes to the publisher. So that portion that gets kicked back to the publisher. So when I said that typically traditional publishing houses, you'll make maybe 10% of the royalties, it's 10% of the royalties that are sent back to the publisher after everybody else gets their cut. So that's how that works. So becoming an author is, yes, it's a passive revenue stream where you'll get extra revenues from writing a book, but where the revenues really come in, it's with the increased credibility, the increased authority. It's the people finding you because now you're on these platforms that you weren't on before, and now people are coming in to sign up and register for your services. So that's really, truly where the benefit is in being an author. Not many people become like millionaires or earn, 6 figures off of their royalties. Not everybody has a J.K. Rowling story. I'll just say that. That's kind of a rare situation, especially with nonfiction books. It's a different kind of, it serves a different purpose.
So I'm going to have to, I'm sorry, leave. I have another appointment, but if we are interested, we will go to your site and schedule an appointment with you to talk about the possible story that we may have, or do we need to sign up first?
So I would say if you have any questions in reference to the logistics of joining the book, reach out with those questions. But if they're more specific to the writing of your chapter, here's what I'm going to say with you all. And I say this out of personal experience. Okay. I'm an author. I'm an editor. I'm a publisher. I'm all the things. I also have done multi-author books, and they're kind of this thing where you think, oh, I want to think about it a little bit. Let me just kind of sit on it and make sure I really want to do this. Let me tell you, the feeling that you're feeling down here, it stays. It stays. So there's always this excitement. There's this sense of nervousness. There's this sense of, oh my gosh, I feel like I need more information, right? This is definitely one of those opportunities that you don't want to overthink too much. You want to say, okay, do I see the value in jumping in on this book? If I do, I'm going to say yes, and I'm just going to do it. Because I did that with the multi-author book that I joined, it was last year. And it really got me nervous because of what the topic was, because of how deep I was having to dig into sharing this vulnerable story. It kind of freaked me out a little bit, but I just went on and I registered. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to figure it out. And I know that the story is going to come out and all the things. So I say that only because I've worked with authors that took 2 months to jump in and register and jump in on the book. The thing is that the sooner you make the decision and register, you know you've got 3 months. You've got a lot of time to sit on it, to figure it out, to reach out and schedule those sessions with me. You have plenty of time to put together the content of the chapter. So I would recommend that only because I know we get stuck up here. We all do. We get stuck up here and we start overthinking things. I say, make the decision, pull the trigger, and then just have a lot of faith in you. That's
And I
what-
will add this as well too, Bridget, because I'm like, oh gosh. And the reason I invited her is because I think she's got an incredible story to share. And the other thing I will share with you ladies, if you choose to jump in on it, I don't even know if I'll have an expiration date, and I will throw in, because it's part of expanding your brand. So I will throw in my branding roadmap for you as an additional, just to support that journey even more so as part of the experience of buying in. So it's not an additional cost. I'll throw it in. It's a workbook with a self-paced video so that you can map out your own brand with an include, you can include the book or not, whatever you want to do with that, because that's, for me, that's my purpose in this. I'm not a publisher. I'm not a writer, although I am writing a book with Kristen right now, partially forced and partially desired. And so for me, I use the vehicle to expand my brand. It's a way to express myself more out there so I can get on larger stages as a business owner. So I want to support you in that by adding with this purchase a branding roadmap program that is a 6-week program that is self-paced. You can do it on your own. And then you could, and I'll throw in some coaching with that as well.
And then one other thing that we haven't even mentioned is that we're actually going to have a summit. So we're going to be holding a summit where all of you are going to be a speaker in the She Leads from Within Summit. So that's another piece of it too, where you're going to get an opportunity to not just basically read your chapter and say exactly what's in your chapter. You're going to give the audience an opportunity to get to know another layer of you. Maybe you want to keep it more professional focused on the things that you do professionally. However you choose to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to meet with you and kind of figure out what that needs to look like. It's going to be individual, like you're going to be having a conversation, almost like you're going on Wonderful's podcast, and the two of you are going to be on there. It's all going to be pre-recorded. It's a virtual, obviously, event. People register for it, and it's one of those that's set up where it just pops into people's inboxes. Don't you love those events? They run for like 5 days. It'll run for the day that, like the week that the book launches, to really ramp up those sales. The people that register for it, they'll get an email into their inbox, and it'll have multiple interviews in one email. So it'll be set up like that. And I love those because I'll register for them and it's going to be free. It's a free event, so you can share it with everybody on your list. I'll put those on, and some days I want to work with music playing in the background, and sometimes I'll listen to a podcast. And those are great because you can just put them on and listen while you're working or doing whatever else. I love that because people can work it around their schedules. So
Oh,
that's
another thing. One more thing, just to add on. I am sorry, Bridget, I know you have to go, but whenever you apply for any speaking engagement, especially this really small stage called TED Talks that no one wants to get on because it's such a small stage, they actually ask for anything you had created book-wise and things like that, because they want to add on to what it is that you are speaking about on there. So it actually brings more credibility to you to get on their stage because you've already written a chapter on something. Okay. So it's just, again, adds to the resume of your awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Did you have a question?
Well, ladies, I'm sorry, I have to go. Thank you so much. Wonderful. It's a pleasure always. It was great meeting you, Kristen, and everyone else. I'll see you guys.
Bye. Have a good night.
Also, I mean, this has been an amazing experience, y'all. I mean, we can go more, but we have already reached our max of time. Any last questions or?
Do we just get started by clicking a link on the website?
Yeah.
And it's the book a call, right? That's kind of the how, and then we decide which way to go.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
How late do you think is too late? I'm not a late goer. I'm not a late person, but I'm just curious. Maybe somebody here needs that answer. Like, how late is too late?
You
Mm.
need to
As far
sign
as
up,
re-
so-
as far as registering?
Yeah.
Mm.
To have it, to make use of the program. I mean, like to get your money's worth, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always say the sooner you opt in, the better, because you're supported for a longer period of time. And one of the things that's provided as well is that by registering for the book, as soon as you register, I invite you to come into my author community, which is called The Collective. We meet several times a month. It's this really incredible space of authors who are in multi-author books. They're working on their own solo book. It's a really beautiful space to support you, and you get to meet each other, which we'll have like a meet and greet sessions where you all can get on and you can meet each other and have conversations. This is really meant to be a situation and an experience where you're in a community of people supporting you. You're not in this alone. So in the community, in the collective, you get supported from as soon as you register until the book releases. We support you and we celebrate you in that space. And then this beautiful thing happens. Everybody in the collective, because we announce it, hey, the book went for sale. Everybody says congratulations. They go in and they buy the ebook when it goes on pre-order, all of the things. So it's a really great space. I would say the soonest is best. We are going to be keeping it open until June. If you register in June, we have to have the cutoff by the end of July or the book doesn't release in the fall, right? So if you release later,
Good.
you have a little less time writing your
So now till end of June, and a print and a release in the fall. Fall is what, September?
So I'm just going to say fall for now. And
Okay.
once we get closer, and I do that for a reason, because if we have to shift for some unforeseen reason, I would hate for you all to have your heart set on a certain month and then have something shift and it gets pushed back a few weeks or something and it goes in next.
Okay.
So I'm going to say fall. I already have it kind of on my planner, but when we get a little further in the process, that's when we're going to announce and share with you all that this is when it's going to be coming out. So we'll give you the month. And then when we have it really, really locked in, because I say this because our process, we're very thorough. So it comes to us, 3 different people see the chapter, do the editing, do the formatting, we proofread it, we make sure it's, you all, I will not even apologize for being a perfectionist because it serves you. For
Yes.
me leading my team of editors, you all are going to love my perfectionism.
Yeah, I need somebody to be more meticulous than me.
I'm a little OCD on this stuff. It's a little, so we want to make sure it's really, really, really ready to go. And then
Thank you.
you have it, so it's ready to go. We have it sent off to the distributor and we have several weeks before it releases, because
Okay.
sometimes I've had situations where we send it over to the distributor and there's a hiccup and it gets stuck. And then we're delayed a week. And then, right, it happens. So I want it good to go a month ahead before. So what I can say to you is it's going to release on a Tuesday. I know that's an odd thing to say, but it's always on a Tuesday and it's going to be in the fall.
Okay.
But as we get closer, I'll reveal.
And is it, Kristen, do you need to depart? Because I have a little bit more just to kind of ask, if that's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
is
sure.
anybody like, does anybody mind that I stay and ask? I mean, I don't want to keep anybody.
No, I just want you to be mindful in terms of anybody else wanted to go. you know.
Absolutely.
Sure,
How
sure.
long should I keep this recording going, Kristen? Do you think that that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think it's a
okay.
bad thing. I feel like when you all ask questions, it benefits everybody else listening. Because
Okay.
maybe they're thinking the same thing, or maybe they hadn't thought of that question and they think that's a great question. So,
So my question is about, I have two questions. The simpler one is, how do I get my own copy? Do I just, because of this process, I'm granted one of my own copy?
so what we're going to be doing is once the book is getting ready to release, we sell them at cost. So you will be able to buy copies at cost. And I won't know exactly how much that is because it's based on how many pages.
Sure. Okay.
And then the printer comes back and they says, this is how much it costs. And here's the thing. There are some publishers that when you do a multi-author book, they say you get one time to order all the books you ever want. And if you don't, now you got to just pay for the retail. We don't do that. So when we say this is how much you can buy the book for, you can reach out to me at any time and order copies. And I love that you're asking this because here's one of the things you can do. When you purchase the books from us at cost, you can turn around and you can sell them on your own, sign them, and you can sell them on your own. And whatever the profit is, that's yours. You keep that.
Yeah.
And I tell my authors all the time, if you sell it, like let's say we're selling the book on Amazon for $17.99, you can turn around and you can sell it for $25 if you want to. And you keep the profit for that.
Okay. My next kind of comment question is really, I am looking for an experience, not a checklist.
Okay, I love
But I will say what you've discussed in terms of like a workbook, and I think wonderful, you showed us something similar, right?
I print everything out. So this is
Okay, so I need this for me to be the most that I want to give into this experience. I want to have it be an experience and not, again, a checklist. Did I hit this mark? I mean, obviously benchmarks are part of the process, but I've been in too many work containers. I've been in a lot of different arenas, and you're a number. And I'm at the stage in my career where I will pay for a little bit more of that DLC and that experience. So can you speak to that? Because I know many of us want a little bit more than, I'm going to be totally transparent. I'm actually about ready to buy a different program. Yeah, and I've already started in some of the work that I've had preliminary from this person. I'm ready to take the next step. That's why I'm here. What's the difference? So now, I mean, you've shared with me some really great things. I feel very connected. In fact, one of my signals to myself is when I feel nervous about something, that means it's right.
Yes.
Because a lot of people assume it's anxiety, which means don't do something about it. But my cue is that means I'm excited. It's not a hindrance, it's a lean in. And can you address the experience that one can have?
Absolutely. So first off, I just want to share with you that I love that you even brought this to us, like how honest and transparent and true to you. I feel like that's such a great question. And I have no doubt that every single person on here, the ladies on here and watching later are kind of thinking, oh my gosh, yes, she asked the question I was really kind of wanting to know. Because you're right, there are a lot of multi-author books out there. There's a lot of opportunities in the multi-author book space, right? And you probably know people that have joined in on those opportunities, and maybe they've come back to you and said, that really wasn't a great experience. And that's really unfortunate, because that is true. And it matters who it is that you're jumping in on those opportunities with, who it is that's running them, how they're leading them, and all of those things. It's an experience. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to go back to what I had shared before. The journey of becoming an author is a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently that's all I seem to be doing right now is life-changing stuff.
that's where you're at. And I love that, because you're kind of like, you all are here because you're like, I'm ready for it. And I love
I'm ready.
that it's not nervousness. So the whole thing, when I tell people like imposter syndrome, we should want to feel imposter syndrome, because the reason what that really is we're leveling who we are and how we're showing up. We're leveling up.
Yeah.
We're stepping into these like new stilettos that we're kind of like, oh my gosh, these don't really fit that great. I feel like I'm going to fall on my face. And it's a little scary, right? Because it's new. We're growing, we're expanding.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
experience should be that. It should be an experience that stretches you, who you are, how you're showing up, what you stand for, all of those things. And the thing that I see over and over and over with the authors that I work with is they will tell me their story and they say it very softly because they've overcome some pretty significant trauma in their life. And for whatever reason, they wear the trauma, right? We do that, don't we? We wear the experiences that we go through, and we define ourselves by the things that happen to us and our stories. And there's this transformation that comes in within you where you start to step into your story. It doesn't define you, but you become this expanded person that is who you are in spite of the things you have overcome in your life. It's a personal transformation of you stepping into your story. There's this quote by Brene Brown, and I know I'm going to murder it, you all. I'm so bad, like, unless I have it sitting straight in front of me. And it says that for as long as you struggle to stand in your story, you're going to be chasing the value of your story, right? You're going to be hustling for your worthiness.
Is that from her book, Daring Greatly? That's a
yeah.
Is,
Either that or the Wilderness one.
She's
the
a quote
Wilderness.
queen.
Yeah.
I feel like I could sit here and quote her all day long.
Yeah.
Her and Oprah and all these amazing.
So,
I do want to share, Michelle. I am an author through her. Like, let's just be completely honest. I had no desire to write a book at all. We meet in a professional space, and I get to experience. Well, maybe it's a good idea because I'm a business owner, but I'm in the same place you are. I'm like, been there, done that. I want something meaningful. I want something purposeful. I want something that I created, not because I have to or I had to. I want it to be from someplace in my soul. Okay.
That's exactly right.
That's my intent. And so I decide, all right, Kristen, I think I'm ready. So I go in. And one of the first experiences I had was after we did a class and I wrote, which is your one-on-ones with her. I cried for an hour after in the dark by myself, because it wasn't that it was so raw. It was just, it unearthed that space again, but it was safe enough. And then it was also a space of bravery that I can continue to write on that.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
And that space is really important to me too, in terms of I need to be guided by someone, first of all, that is not going to look at that and go, oh, that was tough, so let's go move on to the next chapter. It was really more about massaging that particular story and taking it. Is it something, I remember one of the things she said is, it doesn't have to be in the book, but it's really good you wrote it.
Put it out.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that meant to me, like, even though it was raw for me, I was like, thank you. Because I don't know if I wanted it to be in the book, but because I wrote it, so
it helps you move through it. Like, things are going to show up. And I've had authors who are writing very professional books, and they'll sit down to write and they'll be blocked because something else will be showing up. And so we'll get on a session and we'll have to work through whatever that thing is.
Yeah, because something else is drawing attention.
Yeah. Something else is keeping you blocked. And the lady that I shared with you that is the police officer, which she shared with me. So when she went to court, that trial lasted for 7 years. Can you all even imagine? People like getting up on the stand, lying about you, trying to attack your integrity for 7 years. This trial went on. And so her mental health was really, she was having a hard time, and she was in therapy, and she had to go through therapy through that. She went through therapy after. And she said to me, writing my book, writing my story was like more than 5 years of therapy. And she had it finished in the 6 months in the masterclass.
We were in the same group, her and I.
Oh, your master class is 6 months
It's
For a
24
whole book?
weeks. It's 24 weeks. Mhm.
for a whole book?
Well, so what I say to my authors is it's self-led. So if you need to keep writing, the manuscript planner, it guides you to write your book in 96 writing days, depending on how long it takes you to spend those 96 days. I've had authors write their manuscripts in 6 months. I've had others take a year.
Yeah.
So some of us are doing all the things, right? We've got families, we're jumping all the balls in the air. We're doing all the things. We wear all the hats, and
So,
we only commit so many days a week to write.
so I have a book in me, and it's a very unique book. I actually have spoken to others about it, and the manner in which I want to write, it's actually 2 books that are read. I'm not sure I want to share, but anyways,
Do you want to stop recording? Maybe wonderful.
yeah, if you can stop recording, that would be great. Okay.